Why is it that we often tend to believe the future will be brighter than the past, even in the face of contrary evidence? This intriguing question leads us into the realm of optimism bias. Optimism bias, a concept deeply rooted in the field of behavioral economics and psychology, is a cognitive bias that causes a person to believe that they are less at risk of experiencing a negative event compared to others. It's a fascinating mental mirage that gives us the illusion of a safer, more favorable future. Think about it. Remember when you made the decision to go on that road trip despite the weather forecast predicting a storm? You were probably under the spell of optimism bias, convinced that the storm would surely bypass your journey. This bias has a profound impact on our decision-making process, often leading us to underestimate the probability of negative outcomes. Now, you might wonder, why is optimism bias important? Well, it shapes our decisions, our plans, and even our mental health. It is a key player in financial decisions, like investing in stocks or buying a lottery ticket where there is a high risk of loss. People tend to overestimate their chances of winning, ignoring statistical realities. Optimism bias also influences our health-related decisions. Many a smoker has believed they'll avoid the health risks associated with their habit despite the glaring evidence. Similarly, people often neglect safety measures, thinking accidents only happen to others. Optimism bias isn't all doom and gloom though. It's also what fuels entrepreneurs to start new businesses in highly competitive markets or artists to create in a world teeming with talent. It is the driving force that encourages us to strive for a better tomorrow, even when today might not look so promising. So to recap, optimism bias is our brain's way of painting a rosy future, often leading us to underestimate the likelihood of negative events. This mental bias impacts our decision-making process, affecting everything from our financial choices to our health behaviors. It's important to be aware of this bias, not to eliminate it, but to ensure it doesn't lead us astray. A healthy dose of optimism is beneficial. It motivates us to strive and achieve. But when optimism turns into a bias, it can cloud our judgment and lead to poor decision-making. In conclusion, understanding optimism bias is not just about recognizing our tendency to see the future through rose-colored glasses. It's about balancing this innate optimism with a dose of realism. So, the next time you're about to make a decision, take a moment to consider whether optimism bias is at play. It might just save you from a costly mistake, or better yet, guide you to a wise decision. Remember, a brighter future is always possible, but it's wise to also consider the clouds that might darken the horizon. After all, it's the balance between optimism and realism that paves the way for truly wise decisions.